to the Regimentals YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial all about German World War II Eagles, but I am going to concentrate on Army, Navy and Panzer. Okay, Luftwaffe Eagles and SS Eagles. It gets quite in depth and I want to keep this nice and simple. I would say if you've been collecting German militaria for more than 5 years, you might want to just move on to the next video, because this is going to be quite basic, explaining what the difference is between a man's and an officer's. So I'm going to keep it quite simple. But before I start the video, I just wanted to remind everybody that our new premium website is now live. There's a few things about the website that I need to start telling people about. As the website grows, you need to start to understand a few things about it. We're gradually moving the premium items over from our original website to the new website, as well as adding fresh items. We generally update the new website on a Thursday and the original website on a Friday. One of the things to mention about this website is that it's pretty much a website where it says if you want to buy something and you want to secure it, you have to order it. We're trying to encourage people to just place an order online and pay with their credit card. Obviously there's situations where someone wants a special deal, somebody wants to pay on layaway, someone's confused about what payment methods they use. But really and truly, we're trying to move to a generation where we just list the item for sale and you buy it. Obviously in the days and the hours after the update, we can talk to you about special deals, trades, things like that. But really and truly, this website is for someone who sees the item they want and they just buy it with their card, and it minimises the amount of work that we have to do. The other thing to point out about this new website is you'll notice on their daggers and swords will be described in a slightly unusual way, calling them display pieces. This is just because we're trying to get away from highlighting the fact that they are essentially weapons. Now, us collectors, we all know that these are collectors' pieces. The algorithms through websites and things like that, we want to try and get away from calling them knives and swords. So you'll notice them called display pieces. And lastly, the other thing I wanted to point out to you was the fact that we've called it the Regimentals Museum. This, again, we're moving to a generation where we need to protect ourselves and we're worried about the future, and we want to try and just show the community that we are essentially providing a service for historians. You know, we are a museum with an inventory where you can invest in that inventory. You can buy and sell things from us, but essentially we're trying to promote this new website as a museum, just really safeguarding us for any political changes in the future. So that was what I wanted to mention about the website, and now I'm going to start the tutorial basically about these Eagles. So as you can see, I've laid out on the table here a few examples of the Eagles we're going to be talking about, and we're going to start with the Army Eagles. The first row here we have cap Eagles in cloth. As you see from the first one, green backing signifying Wehrmacht or army, with a very white bevo eagle. The early war ones were in white, and then as you progress through the campaign, the green goes to a more olive type colour, and the actual colour of the eagle moves to grey, more subdued. It's wartime now, and they don't want to highlight or depict the very, very white stitching, so it's a subdued grey. So the difference between these two cap eagles is the white is very early and the grey eagle is wartime or mid-war. And then the next one we show is a very similar bevo eagle, but you'll notice it's a silver wired eagle, so it signifies an officer's. You'll see these on things like crusher caps. And then the next eagle I'll show you is the bullion officer's eagle. So I've just shown you the flat wire bevo officers, and now this is the bullion officer's eagle. Notice how short and stubby it is, that it would go onto a cap. And then as we went on to late war, they started incorporating the roundel onto the Eagle to simplify it. You know, the war effort was becoming expensive, so they wanted to make things quicker and easier. So they made what we call the trapezoid Eagle and roundel. Notice again the Eagle is in grey cloth in conjunction with the mid-war type Eagle, but that is the trapezoid one-piece insignia. And then the last cap Eagle for the Army I wanted to show you is the very late war example. You've noticed we've moved away from bevo now. We have just a simple embroidered Eagle, and you can very much see that it's a very simplified, crude Eagle and cockade all in one piece. So keeping with Army, then we move on to breast Eagles, and the format is exactly the same. The first one we look at is an unissued bevo breast Eagle for the Army, and you'll notice the white stitching again, signifying it's early war or pre-war. And then we go on to a more grey version. The backing colour of the bevo cloth is similar in the dark green, but the Eagle has toned down to a more greyed version. And then we move on to what we call the mid-war example, the late war example, where the backing cloth has moved to an olive drab and the Eagle is very dull. Obviously, again, we don't want to, you know, the soldiers, they didn't want to be picked out, so the actual Eagle was much darker. Running in the same format, then I'll show you a bevo officer's flat wire Eagle. So you notice that the silver wire is the Eagle construction, but the backing cloth is still bevo. And finally then for the officers, we look at the bullion officer's breast Eagle. This one has been worn, removed from a tunic. It's quite subdued. It's got a little bit of patina on it. Some of the bullion cording is wearing away, but that is the bullion officer's version. Okay, so that was Army. That's just a quick insight. And now I'm going to move on to talking about Navy. And Navy can get a little bit complicated. It starts off with the same rundown as we did with the Army ones. The blue bevo background with the very bright yellow Eagle. This would be an early war example of a enlisted man's cloth cap Eagle. Would probably be on an overseas cap or an M43 cap. And then we are going to look at the bevo officers Kriegsmarine Eagle. Now this is quite rare. You very rarely see these. You'll notice that the construction of the actual Eagle is in a gold flat wire material. Doesn't signify that it's a general's, it just signifies that it's an officer's, but it is gold flat wire on that Eagle. And then we move on to a really nicely embroidered cap Eagle. It's quite embossed. Now this really could be for a senior NCO, but it's more likely an officer's embroidered cap Eagle. And then finally we move down to a very oxidized officer's high quality bullion cap Eagle. Now this is not to get confused with generals. There was no generals in the Navy, so to speak. Admirals didn't really wear these either. This is just an example of an officer's bullion cap Eagle. As I said, it has a lot of oxidization on there, probably because it's been at sea, and that's probably removed from a well-used cap. Moving across here to breast Eagles, I don't have a bevo breast Eagle, so similar to the blue one we saw with the very blue backing cloth for the caps, you do get them for the breast Eagle as well, but I don't actually have one, so I'm moving straight on to an embroidered Navy breast Eagle, probably for an NCO, and then just after that, this really high quality embroidered Eagle. You'll notice this is probably for a very high ranking NCO, and then we move on to the officer's breast Eagle in the gold bullion wire. Okay, again I'll remind you, the gold bullion on these breast Eagles and cap Eagles for Navy, it's not generals, it's just that's what the officers wore. Notice all how they have a blue backing. So it's yellow eagle with a blue backing. And now I'm going to talk about coastal artillery. Now coastal artillery really is still Navy. They come under the same bracket, Navy and coastal artillery. They're very similar insignia, but you must not confuse the two. So coastal artillery has a green backing. We'll start with the cap eagle. Notice the soft bevo green backing. It's very different to the army backing. It's a much stronger green with a bright yellow eagle. Now pretty much that stayed the same throughout the whole campaign. They didn't really change that very much. And the breast eagle is virtually identical, but obviously larger. So here we have an unissued bevo man's breast eagle for the coastal artillery. Next one we look at is I would call an NCO's breast eagle, nicely embroidered on a greeny grey backing cloth, very typical of coastal artillery. And then finally we look at what I think is a coastal artillery officer's breast eagle. Here we have to be very careful because the coastal artillery officer's eagle is almost identical to a army general's eagle. I would say the only difference is the green backing cloth on a coastal artillery is lighter than what you would find on an army general's eagle. But as collectors, you must be very careful that when you're purchasing an eagle on its own, that if you're looking to buy an army general's eagle, make sure someone is not trying to sell you what I would consider a coastal artillery officer's eagle. And now we're going to move on to Panzer. Okay, so the format for Panzer, again, it runs pretty much the same as Navy and Army, but here we have black backing. So we start at the top here with two eagles. I'm going to do these together. This is cap eagle and breast eagle for the tunic, but you'll notice bevo black backing with a very white cloth eagle, signifying pre-war. As the war went on, obviously they wanted to make the eagles more subdued, so they released the same thing but with a grey eagle. Here we have a used cap eagle in grey with black backing, but an unused breast eagle, as I said, grey eagle, black backing. And then I want to show you a officer's cap eagle in cloth, very rare. But again, officers, it's the flat wire silver material making up the eagle. This is a very heavily used one, but if you look closely, you can see the flat wire silver for officers. You'd find this on an officer's overseas cap or on a M43 cap. And then we see an officer's cap eagle in bullion. Again, black backing, silver bullion. And the equivalent for the breast eagle, again, similar thing, just larger size, silver bullion, heavily oxidized, but black backing. Towards the end of the war, again, simplifying things, they wanted to make it a bit more cost effective, so you see trapezoids, the eagle and the roundel on one piece of insignia, and often you see them in this really interesting, what we call T-shape insignia. They are particularly popular. One thing I wanted to point out talking about the Panzer Eagles is sometimes the black backing on these eagles can be very, very dark green. So be careful not to get confused between an army eagle in a very, very dark green and a true black eagle. Also, another thing to look out for is the black Panzer breast eagle with the black cloth backing could be confused for a Kriegsmarine administration eagle. So the Kriegsmarine eagle for administration would be a very dark green with a silver eagle, but now really we're getting quite confusing. So really that's for a more in-depth collector. Lastly, I just wanted to point out a few other eagles just out of interest to you, things you don't often see. This is a very rare officer's Bahnschutz eagle, Bahnschutz meaning railway. Then we have an officer's bullion forestry cap eagle, again very rare. This little eagle here is for the NSBO or the DAF, very unusual. The notice here the T-shape one-piece insignia for customs, but the unique thing about the customs eagle is you'll notice that the tip of the eagle wing points upwards, and that is always the way to spot a customs eagle. The very unique identified Tino eagle, it stands out, the T and the N cover over the swastika, and that's how you notice the Tino eagle. And then lastly, the NSKK eagle, again a very unique, familiar looking eagle. So I just wanted to point out those as an extra, just a little bit of extra interesting information. So as I said at the start of this video, it is quite basic. What I would recommend is watching it a few times, because it will help you take in that basic information. Thank you for watching. We've updated the website as usual. As I said, Thursdays for the premium website, Fridays for the original website, and we'll be back soon with another video in the next few weeks.